Bucket List Life's mission is to help you get off the treadmill, stop Groundhog Days, hack your habits, and live a regret-free life. Because we know life's way too short not to live your bucket list life. So please welcome your host, Trav Bell, the Bucket List Guy.
Hey, welcome bucket listers to another episode of the Bucket List Life podcast. I'm so stoked that you've been able to visit us once again, listen to us once again. And on today's show, we've got an excellent guest, Angel Ribo, the CEO Confidant. How are you, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And obviously, thank you everybody who's watching us today, Trav.
Yeah. Look, we're streaming live on a bunch of social networks, so feel free to comment, get involved. Yeah, get involved, and we'll put some of your comments up on the screen too. People who are watching, people who are listening to the podcast as well. Thanks so much once again for tuning in to another episode. Hey, look, Angel, thanks so much for jumping on board, mate. Whereabouts in the world are you?
I am in Dallas, Texas. Actually, the north of Dallas. It's a suburb called Plano, which is full of international headquarters, by the way.
I know Plano, Texas. I've actually been there. So there you go.
God. There you go. What are the chances of us both knowing this small suburb north of Dallas? Oh my God, Trav, you're killing me.
I've actually been there. Now you don't sound very Texan. Where are you originally from?
No, exactly. My accent is from a different place in the world. I was born near Barcelona in Spain, so. Very early on, I was exposed to English and French and everything. So I started an international career. And yeah, I've had an international experience, kind of.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. Hey, mate. Angel, tell me.
Sure.
When you're called the CEO Confidant. Now we'll get into that in a second. But what I'd love to know is when you fly into a country or when you fly back into the US where you are now, and we've got to fill out those kind of really annoying incoming passenger cards, and you've got to put your incoming passenger card, you've got to put your occupation. What do you put as your occupation on that card?
I put business consultant. That's what I put.
And what did you used to put on there before you became a business consultant?
That's a great question. So I was employed by someone else, right? So I would probably put something like executive or sales manager or country manager or something like this.
What led you to become the CEO Confidant?
Thank you. So
I love the brand. I love the personal brand.
No, thank you. So, it came really as a, I like the name, and the reason why it came to me was because I left corporate America 5.5 years ago. I really didn't know. When you have been for so many years having the support of large corporations, in my case, American companies, and you actually get into your own. You mentioned treadmill in the introduction, right? You get into your own treadmill, into your own company, and you said, okay, so what am I gonna do? And one of the main issues that entrepreneurs have is that, so I have these so many routes, okay? So I have so many things I can do. I have services I can provide, right? So I was really lost. So I said, at some point I said, okay, let's stop this. Let's pick one path and let's go down that path. And one of the things I did was, I sat down and I said, let's do the obvious. What have I accomplished at all in my career since the 90s, since I left Europe, right? And I started writing down what I had done. And then at some point I said, okay, so I had my own sales force. I had, I was working with sales forces of other companies as partners and resellers, distributors, etc. Okay. So how many deals did I close? So I started writing literally like client names, blah, 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 blah. There was all sorts of companies, all sizes, but there were a lot of large corporations. The reason being is because the high-tech companies I was working with, they were dealing with those corporations. Basically, when I was working in high tech, we were helping them to develop better products, basically. So anyway, I started writing down, and then I started actually counting them. And I realized when I was at the 1,500, I did this spreadsheet. I said, oh my God, really? I've worked with so many companies. And then I said, well, what do those companies have in common? So what they had in common is that when I started to actually sell, and I started to sell through the phone back in Europe, I was making so many phone calls a day in a week that eventually I learned to do something. It's not that I was specific. I wasn't talented. I was just learning the skill. And the skill was reaching out to C-level executives and being able to, go around the bottlenecks. If you gatekeepers, and the gatekeepers.
That is a skill. That is definitely a skill, my friend. That is definitely a skill.
Exactly. So I said, well, I learned that. And then I remember my first job ever was as inside sales. And I was passing on leads to the field sales reps. And the field sales reps, they would love me. Angel, we want more appointments with the CEOs, with the C-levels. Really, it's like that. And I had no idea it was good for that. I just knew I liked people, right? So anyway, so fast forward, when I left corporate America in 2016, I started to make, these calculations. And I said, the kind of sales I've always done in my life was always this consultative sales, in which you always reach out to the top of the organization, so that then it's them who give you the chance to work with the rest of the decision makers and define clearly the decision criteria, right?
Yep.
So that was me. So then I realized, okay, so I've worked with so many CEOs. That's what I have in common in so many companies. Why not calling myself the CEO Confidant? I Googled it and I went to the trademark, authority here in the US, and I said, well, nobody's using it.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly. But that was funny enough. That was after I had already created my LLC, my company.
Right.
And I was so lost. They said, okay, so what name do I give my company? And you're going to like this story. So I go ahead and I try to book Divine Business Ventures. Okay, because the reason, listen to that story. So the reason why I wanted to give that name is because one of the reasons I left corporate America is because I had a spiritual experience that really changed my life forever. So I said, it's going to be Divine Business Ventures. I go there, I try to have my, CPA to book it. It's taken, Trap. It's taken.
That is a good sign. That is a very good sign.
But guess what?
You should not have done.
Exactly. But guess what? You know what name was available? Divine Human Ventures. Human Ventures. So my LLC, my company, that's a different thing, right? That's a completely different story. A Divine Human Venture is a completely different story. And I loved it so much that they immediately took it. And then, so you will see that online in many places. You will see. So basically, Divine Human Ventures, doing business as the CEO Confidant.
Right. Yeah. The name of my company is very, like Bell Investments. That's really boring.
Okay.
Compared to the bucket list guy. And where do you think, having the CEO Confidant and and here we go, I'm the bucket list guy. Someone called me the bucket list guy years ago. How do you think that is that important these days to get that level of cut through? To get noticed, to get attention, from a thought leadership point of view?
Well, maybe I like to ask my question. There's something called the deprivation test, which is what happens if you take something out of your life, of your company, of your venture, of your organization. So the question I would like to ask myself now is, what would happen if I didn't have this branding, right? If I didn't have this brand.
Great way of looking at it. Love that way. Yeah, I love that. I love what you did there. Yeah, cool.
Exactly. So to be honest, I like it so much, and people are actually a lot of people, even clients of my clients, they, you reach out to me like with this, because even on LinkedIn I have like my last name dash the CEO Confidant. So the reality, is it necessary? The answer is probably not. That's my experience, because I have a lot of, I help companies that don't have that kind of very nice, brandy, trendy, fancy name. But does it help? I think that it does help, because people acknowledge who you are. That's the most important thing. But obviously, I mean, it's like you've interviewed so many people, right? So how long does it take to you if someone is genuine or not? I mean, how many? What, 2 minutes, 5 minutes?
Less, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay, so when you scratch the surface, you know who has really done what they say they have done, right? So,
100%.
But that's that's what it is. I really like the branding, and I also like I like the logo as well. So. And I came up also with the idea of the CEO Confidant TV as a way to promote and give exposure to my clients. Anyway, I hope I answered your question.
No, that's good. I'm really interested. I mean, Yeah. So you work with mainly CEO, C-level executives. In what kind of industries?
Mm-hmm. So, although I had worked mainly on high tech and oil and gas mainly throughout my life, when I
Right.
decided to work for myself, I actually
Yeah.
said, okay, so if I really want to make an impact in the world, do I still want to work in the sectors that I feel more comfortable with, in the verticals that I feel more comfortable with, or do I want to work differently? And really, it's all about the purpose, right? So I really want to make a difference in the world with myself, with my exposure, with this conversation with you, humbly speaking today, Trav, and with what I do for business every single day. So I said, no, I'm going to pick, let's say my avatar is going to be, my persona is going to be someone that really wants to make a difference in the world, really wants to change the world. He or she is really like walking their talk, and they really want to change themselves, and that's very easy.
Right. So on that, do you come across some people that are very incongruent with, like we want to, let's say, for instance, I want to chat. On the website, we want to change the world. We want to, and all their marketing material, we want to change the world, make an impact. But the CEO, the C-level executives are really incongruent with that. Have you found
absolutely.
that?
Oh, absolutely. I have, of course.
Right. Is it common? Is it
no,
common?
I wouldn't say it's common. I wouldn't say it's common. But yes, it's like when I was in corporate America and I was in charge of a certain budget, the reality is, I was used to do certain things that in theory work for corporate America or for the corporate world. But when I became my own boss, I realized that what was really moving the needle for me and for my company, for my consulting business, was completely different, right?
Yeah.
So again, does it happen? See, yes, excuse me, but not.
Yeah.
It's not very common, but also, but so the answer is, what do I do? What do I do when I am in that situation? Although typically my engagements go from 6 to 12 months, even longer. Typically I really don't feel comfortable working with someone that doesn't walk the talk, and I walk out. Literally,
love that.
I walk out.
Yeah, it's hard to coach someone that's not congruent. Yeah.
And let me tell you a joke. As you know, you sent me an email a few minutes ago. And Trav, it's first time that we talked with Trav, and Trav sent me an email, and he goes, "Life's too short." And I said, "Oh my God, this guy is psychic or what?" Trav has listened to some of my conversations in other podcasts, because one of my favorite sentences is, "Listen, Trav, life's too short to waste it with the wrong people. Life's too short
100%.
to waste it with the wrong people." So to your question, with people that are not congruent, should I keep working with them? The answer is no. But let me tell you that it's not so radical, right? It's not like, one day I see that they're not walking their talk. I always have a tough conversation with them and say, "Hey,
you got it.
I thought that, of course, I thought that
you can be congruent with the CEO Confidant. You can be congruent with what you're trying to put out there in the world. Yeah,
absolutely. Otherwise, otherwise I will have a conflict myself with what I'm doing, right? And that's okay. I don't have to. Not everybody has to be happy, and that's okay.
So one of the things, and I love what is it Taha Saeed said here from LinkedIn. You got to live and breathe the brand for sure, and we're seeing, and thanks a lot for playing Tahir too.
Absolutely.
Unreal. So look, the deal is here, more and more companies that you come across, are they becoming, you can't hide, you can't be too incongruent for much longer, because you've got to live and breathe the message. Are these the types of companies that you love working with? Like the really congruent ones that I remember before we went live here, mate, you said you talked about the ones that want to leave a legacy, the ones that want to really make an impact. Describe those kinds of businesses, those kinds of companies, and any examples that you got would be great.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of living a legacy and changing the world. Let's say it's probably two different things, right? But changing the world is, what kind of an impact have they left behind them? So what kind of an impact have they really Let's start by the community. I like to really, like when I do my due diligence with my clients, obviously I always do that. I want to, again, be incongruent. The first thing I do is I really search what kind of impact they have in the community. Are they contributing to some local problems, to some social, programs locally? What are they doing? Number two, very often I reach out to the to the people in HR and I ask, hey, what sort of charities are you supporting? And that's very common. Large corporations support charities. Okay. Yep. Large corporations do support charities. And for me, that's very important. As you probably know from my resume, one of the reasons why I left corporate America was to create my own charity, which is Wisdom for Kids. And we help underprivileged kids in Latin America become entrepreneurs using the local resources. Yeah.
Very cool.
I lived in Mexico for 10 years and I worked in Latin America almost for 15 years. So again, for me to know if someone is really moving the needle or not, it's extremely easy. There's a very, very well-known high-tech companies, that they have the most well-known network equipment in the world. I cannot say their name, but I think that everybody, resonates or can tell you what company that is.
Trying really hard not to say it.
Okay. Well, anyway, so that company, for instance, they really have local contributions. So locally in the US, they really work with local programs. They really contribute to their communities, to their local communities, but also in their subsidiaries around the world, you very often see that they make contributions and they support charities all over the place. And very often, I mean, I have, as you probably know, I have right now like 28,000 more or less, connections on LinkedIn. 5 years ago, I only had 800. Only.
Wow.
So
God, what have you done to get so many connections on LinkedIn?
No, so I'm basically, I have a team of people, otherwise I wouldn't be able. Yeah. The main thing is not the number, but what you do with them. And the main thing is how warm they are, how warm you keep them. In order to keep them warm, you have to do many things. One of them is to keep that connection continuously fed with what they really want. And there's a lot of market intelligence and connection intelligence there. But anyway, going to your original question, I don't want to divert because, as I told you also off the record before, I serve two audiences. One is the large corporations and the other one is the accomplished entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs which are already 6-7 figures. Yeah. And then obviously that becomes an easier conversation and it's an easier due diligence for me, right? And really, for me, the most important thing is not to work with accomplished entrepreneurs that think small. Okay, think small. Yeah. Really, that's for me a priority. I don't work with people. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want big thinkers as clients that you can really push your envelope, who are making big decisions. Yeah, I totally get that. Look, we're doing this right in the middle of coronavirus. The vaccines are getting rolled out. This is going live. So this is very, very current. This is not going to come out in like a month's time or anything like that. This is very current. Exactly. But what are the biggest problems that CEOs, being the CEO Confidant, you should know this. Yeah. What are the biggest problems? I can tell you. Yeah. The biggest problems that they're facing right now?
Yeah. So this really depends on obviously depends in the industry because different industries have been hit differently, right?
Yeah,
I can tell you last year, every single week I had face-to-face meetings with C-level executives. Every single week, okay? So I made it myself a purpose. I really want to be in touch with my market and with my client's market no matter what.
Yeah.
So I would have those conversations. So obviously there were some layoffs at that level. So one of the main concerns was keeping the talent. That was one of the main concerns. But the most important one, if I had to mention only one, would be how to still keep the companies profitable. Keep the companies, because revenues. I have a very good friend that says that revenues are vanity, profits are sanity, and cash flow is reality. Okay, so making sure.
I like that. Exactly. What is that? Repeat that again.
Yeah.
Revenues
are vanity, profits are sanity, and cash flow is reality. Okay.
Right.
This comes from my good friend Neville Joffe. He's from South Africa. He lives in Toronto. Yeah, great. He has a great book, by the way. I'm gonna recommend you a book. if I can.
Cool.
It's called, we can do that later. So anyway, it's so one of the main things that most of the CEOs did and C-level executives was how do we make sure that we keep profitability and cash flow afloat during this crisis? Because one way or another, things have changed. So let me tell you, I remember a very, very important, famous, relevant events company that $2 million events last year became $200,000. Can you imagine?
Crazy.
And obviously, literally clients obviously waiting or expecting a similar delivery, right? So I think that the most successful CEOs last year, they focused not only on the company's profitability, but on making sure that they were training their employees so that they were fully aware of the financial implications of their business decisions. I think that never in the history, because, probably you remember 2001 crisis, you remember 2008, 2009, you remember all those things, right?
Yeah.
Everybody does. But when, in our lives, did we have so many months with the same kind of, let's say, restrictions? Let's put it in this neutral.
It's a perfect storm.
Exactly. So the best companies out there took the opportunity to make sure that they were training their employees to be fully aware of the financial implications of their business decisions. Guess what? When you do that, immediately, when everybody is aware of this, the engagement increases. And then as a CEO, you really can keep accountable all your employees. You see that? So that's, again, you use the terms.
A lot more team involvement. Yeah, a lot more team involvement, realignment, recalibration.
Totally.
And a lot of companies, I love what, hopefully I'm saying your name, Taya, has said, from a recruitment point of view, recruiting and meeting with leaders in the market, Angel is spot on. There we go, mate. So is he a good friend of yours?
No.
Some industries are absolute. Some industries are absolutely, they're not just surviving, but they're absolutely thriving in amongst all this. What about, look, we talk like from you may or may not know that, we've got certified bucket list coaches around the world. I'm the founder CEO of Certified Bucket List Coaches, and we've got them in a bunch of countries around the world. And they go in and do bucket list programs, group coaching kind of programs. And one of our biggest focuses is, and has been, certainly engagement is a huge issue, and also mental health. How do you see engagement, mental health playing out as far as your world vision is concerned?
Yeah, engagement has always been an issue, as you know. Actually, today I was talking to a former C-level, CHRO, literally, and we were talking about, Chief Human Resources Officer. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. We're counting the letters.
There's a lot of
There's a lot of letters there. Yeah, exactly. So, and actually, we're talking about engagement. Engagement has always been a problem. Always. Yeah. Always. Always.
It's not a current problem. It's always been a problem.
Yeah, because again, how can you possibly ask your companies to be ask your employees to be accountable if they're not engaged? And it's not fair. If you are a leader in the company, it's not fair to try to keep them accountable if they have not received the right training. Okay.
Disengagement is a huge thing in America, especially.
And that's
it's less here in Australia, but it's huge. It's like something like 70-80%, is it?
70 plus,
yeah.
Exactly.
70+%.
Yeah, the last stat I heard a couple of weeks ago was 76%. That's what I heard.
Oh, 76% of people who go to describe engagement. Describe engagement. What does engagement or disengagement mean?
Well, engagement,
what does it mean?
I would say people that really want to go to work and really are willing. I would say they really consider their CEO as a leader, so they do what they need to do, even when nobody's looking at them.
Yeah,
that's for me engagement. Someone that really stays there no matter what. And that's why there's. I mean, if you ask me where the gaps are, The gap is always between first the CEO and the C-level executives. There's always a gap there. But the big, massive gap, this massive disengagement of 76% is between the C-levels and the rest of business operators of those businesses. And that's what it is. And let me touch upon mental health, because last year, I helped many many startup CEOs and entrepreneurs, small business owners, pivoting in times of crisis. What does that have to do with the mental health in corporate America? What it has to do is that the market has changed. Okay, the market has changed. I'm sure that your coaches have found the same thing. What's the number one emotion that was in the world since, let's say, March, April 2020? The main emotion that everybody had. You can describe it many different ways. Exactly. It has 4 words. It's fear. Everybody. Now the people are more used. There's less number of people. So again, everybody's in fear. There's uncertainty. There's anxiety. I mean, you name it. If you talk to professionals, mental health professionals, they will tell you it's on the rise. The number of people asking for advice is on the rise, right? I have found, though, that this problem, let's say the mental health problem, has been, let's say, cushioned, has been like moderated a little bit because of the fact that people have been at home, so they could have more freedom. Okay. The problem has been though, another statistic which is very interesting, as you can imagine, and you probably expect what I'm going to say. The number of divorces has never been so high. Okay. So when you say this relationship works because you were gone all the time.
That's it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and again, I'm being very humble here. I mean, I'm being very spontaneous. That's the right word. Okay, I'm just saying the way I've heard it, and it's true. I believe it.
100%. I mean, not everyone. I mean, this whole working from home thing and this hybrid mix of work and like a work-life blend, this hybrid mix of working from home, working from the office, whether I'm going back to the office or not, or whether we're embracing technology like we've never before, and we've innovated and adapted within the business that we're in. This whole new normal that everyone's talking about, reestablish. But human beings, right? Human beings are human beings. We love to be around people. And not all of us have got a supportive home ecosystem to fall back on. And a lot of people, and I'd hate to say domestic violence has gone up. It hasn't been all that favorable. So people go to work for a number of different reasons, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why when you were describing the group, all your team worldwide, I mean, one of the most powerful assets you have is not only your team, but all the experiences that they're getting bottom up from the ground up that tells you exactly what's going on in the world. That's one of the most important assets. Let me tell you another story. I met with this. He is the senior VP for sales for a large medical devices company. Okay. And it's about $600-700 million revenue. So, and he goes, and we're talking about the sales force. What's the number one challenge that you guys have? I mean, they're manufacturing medical devices. So, I mean, the market is booming. So everything is nice. Guess what the number one issue is? Their sales force are not used to sell through online video conferencing tools.
Oh, shit. It's a first world problem. I think we call that a first world problem, right?
So they had so many resignations, so many people leaving the company, top notch. I mean, these guys were selling 20, 30, 50, $100 million a year. They couldn't do it
online.
No.
Oh my God.
That's a true story. So
and that was their biggest problem.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
but going back to your conversation, we are just human beings. I mean, you are a human being with this amazing large, organization behind you, and we have this amazing Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company with a CEO with this amazing, hundreds of thousands of employees working for them, but they're still human beings. They're still human beings. They still need a coach, a bucket list coach, to get the things done. Don't you think? Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
So it's the same thing, So it's just we go back to the same. We go back to the to the same entry level, of humanness. I like to call it this way, which is at the end of the day, we are run by our survival mode. Okay, so we are all distracted, and we are all distracted all the time because of who we are. Because human beings are distracted in order to defend myself, in order to survive, right? And that, unfortunately, or that luckily, gives work to a lot of people that help all these people that gets distracted so easily a better way to focus and get things done in their lives, right?
Yeah. That's it. How are we gonna, how is this going to change us? This is a big question. And I just thought of it while we're talking about coronavirus and everything like that. We're all recalibrating. We've all had the chance to take this big, deep breath in. Well, most of us anyway. Some businesses, yes, they're thriving. They've just got even busier. Some are just decimated. They're crushed. I look at the travel industry that I've been involved in. And how is this, in your view, because you've been exposed to so many different businesses at the top level, and you still are, how is this going to be the big reset? How are we going to redefine what work and life looks like from here out? What's going to be the new normal? You know what I mean? So are we going to go back to the default of how we used to do things before coronavirus, or what's going to be in it for us in the reset?
Well, I think it's going to be. I mean, number one, I think that very large corporations are not going to change much from what they are doing right now.
Right. Yeah.
That's the main thing. As corporations, not as executives, I think that a lot of executives have developed an additional critical thinking in the last months, in the last 14 to 12 months, and they're considering taking other roles and doing different things. And I'm not talking only about changing from one C-level to another C-level position. No, I'm talking about why not starting our own business? Why not starting our own startup? Why not getting together with some former colleagues of mine and doing this? Okay, because again, fear is managed in a different way. Okay, so let me ask you a question. I like to use the deprivation test all the time. I think that the quality of our lives is the quality of other questions. So, so was everybody in fear? No. So was everybody, taking all the fear and, again, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, okay, but it's a reality because I find this every single day in the market, right? When I was meeting with these C-level executives last year, I tell you, there were a few ones that would stay literally at the furthest point of the table, literally on a coffee shop, the furthest part of the table with their mask on, and I respect that. Because I'm someone that builds bridges. I'm not here to burn bridges. I build bridges. And at the same time, there were other people that would come there, would hug me, would shake my hands, and we would have a conversation next to each other as if nothing had happened in the world. So I think that we are creating a new world. I think that there's a lot of creation power, creative power coming from corporate world of people that right now are constructing a different world. I think that the new world that's coming up, I honestly think so, and I see that. And in the obviously, and that you see this in the startup world, big time. And as you know, in the US, we have a lot of, as you know, I mean, it's one of the most easy places in the world to build your own startup and business, right? So I think that business leaders are becoming more conscious of what they want and of what they do not want. They're becoming more conscious of the impact of their decisions in the world in general. Remember that also a new generation coming up, right? There's a new generation that is pushing hard, right? And these are the people that are going to take all those positions and all those jobs that these people are creating right now. Okay.
So a more conscious leader, more conscious leaders are starting to emerge.
Absolutely. Totally.
Love it.
I see that totally. Totally. I mean,
Yeah.
completely. And, and regardless, I mean, again, we are still on a place of uncertainty. I acknowledge that. I mean, we still don't know the final destination of this train. Okay. We still don't know it. But what I can tell you is that we every single one of us is part of the new world that is being created. Never throw the towel, ever. You are much more powerful than what you think. Much more powerful. Okay. So again, as I said before, I'm someone. The most common theme of mine last year on my posts on social media, where my most common thing was building bridges, because I'm an empath, Trav. I'm an empath. I feel the pain. And I want the people to see it through.
Yeah, I think to add to that, I feel, and hopefully people are conscious of this and can retrospective, we can look back on the last 12 months and go, you know what, whether I'm in a business, whether I work for someone or I run a business or, whatever I do, that I'm a hell of a lot more resilient than I gave myself credit for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it showed everyone that we're a lot more resilient than we may have previously thought, right?
Yeah.
And so with that being said, we'll build more resilient businesses. We'll factor in systems to create more resilient businesses. But we've got I guess as leaders, C-level executives, the kind of people that you deal with, we've got thicker skin. We're able to have done this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. That's why I was saying, I think that regardless of the fear of the dominating, let's say, emotion, regardless, there's a lot. There's these people have acknowledged that they were more resilient, but they could do much more. They could get more done. So when I was delivering here in the Dallas area, I was delivering some webinars on pivoting in times of crisis for entrepreneurs, small business owners, and I was talking about pivoting in times of crisis and reinventing themselves. We were always talking about what are you passionate about, what's your expertise, what's the market looking for, and what do you think the market is going to pay, right? Is it going to pay for what you want to do? But everybody was able to pivot. Everybody was able to find this additional edge that would allow them to offer additional services, even ourselves.
We just had to.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got it's a gun to your head kind of motivation, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Actually, for instance, had you told me 5 years ago I would start actually leveraging my exposure online for my own clients, I would have said, "What? What is that?" I only see these fancy, men and women on Instagram, selling these fancy products and blah blah blah. I would say, I would have never dreamt that I could do that B2B and B2C trap. Impossible. But that's a reality. You can do it.
Look, I think I think that we've all come out of this. Well, we're still coming out of it in certain parts around the world with a newfound level of resilience, a newfound level of consciousness. That's for sure. Ability to adapt and be, and I think we're collectively, radically, collaborating like never before as well. So there's some real, like you and I we're optimists. So we're always going to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's why it's been so awesome, I think, and Angel, to really get to know you more about the work that you kind of do. And I've got one last question before we sign off. And I ask this of all of our guests on the Bucket List Life podcast. Angel, so just imagine. Just imagine. Here we go. So just imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine a stadium full of people, and you've got a big a raised stage and a big booming microphone on that stage. What would you love to say, and who do you choose to be in the audience?
Yes. So thank you very much for that question. That's an amazing question. And that's definitely what I would like to tell. And actually, I started to say it before. We are much more powerful than what we think. And we should start taking, and that's my main business mantra in my life, we should all start taking imperfect action now. We should all start taking imperfect action now. I would be that person that would start talking to everybody to the eyes and telling them that regardless of the doubts, regardless of what their physical beings are allowing them to see, their physical eyes, their physical ears, regardless of that, they still have that passion. They still have that side inside of them that allows them to thrive and to make a big difference in the world.
Wow. Yes. Very cool.
That's what I would. That's what I would tell these 200,000 people that someday I will be talking to in a stadium, and I will invite you to that talk, Trav. Can I?
There it is. Is that on your bucket list?
It's not on my bucket list, but you know what? How can I possibly say no to the bucket list guy?
No, you cannot.
I cannot. Absolutely. So that's 200,000, and I will invite you to that talk. Okay.
Oh, please! I'll be front row. Look, we've got your LinkedIn profile up there, the CEO Confidant. Just look at Angel Ribo on LinkedIn. That's where you mainly hang out. So how can, apart from that link going across the screen right now, how else can people get in contact with you, Angel?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to obviously be here. It's been a pleasure, really, to have this conversation. The easiest way to, thank God I have a team I can delegate to. Without them, I couldn't do anything. So, we all read all the messages of email. I like to share my personal email. It's Angel, ANGEL, at angelribo.com. Ribo spelled like R-I-B as in boy O.com. Again, Angel at angelribo.com. I really like to read the emails I receive, and I really like to answer them. Either my team or myself, we always answer all the emails that we receive, Trav.
Oh, fantastic. Hey, Angel, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you and get your views on the world as well, mate.
Thank you.
It's been awesome. So, thanks so much for staying up late and over there in Dallas, Texas, and spending some time, taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the Bucket List Live podcast, mate. So, guys, that is it for another episode of the Bucket List Live podcast. Please go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and leave a review, comment, share, all of that good stuff. And until next time, thanks a lot for tuning in to the Bucket List Live podcast.
Thanks so much for listening to the Bucket List Life podcast with the world's #1 bucket list expert, Trav Bell. For more great content, go to www.thebucketlistguy.com.